Welcome to the channel, guys. We are back again, and today I'm going to be talking about the top 10 lists, or the top 10 fragrances I wore in the summer. So stay tuned for that. And if you like top 10 lists, fragrance reviews, cologne comparisons, first impressions, hit that subscribe button for more great content. So summer is definitely coming to a close. Fall is creeping in. Fall, winter, I'll be honest, are probably my favorite months for fragrances, just because I do tend to like those heavier, darker or sweeter fragrances that are a little hard to wear in the summer. But that does not mean there are not a good amount of summer fragrances, fresher, lighter fragrances that I do really enjoy. And there were 10 that I wore, probably more than anything else. And, despite, of course, COVID not going out as much. But I am going to talk about those fragrances. Two of them don't have here with me, unfortunately. Did plan on bringing them, did want to bring them, but as I mentioned when I was moving, space is a bit of a premium. So those two fragrances, the first one, Winwood from Mancera. This, I always kind of compare it to He-Man Rocky Mountain, and I absolutely think the similarities are there. It has this really, really fresh, breezy kind of a violet vibe that does have a little bit of a woodiness in there as well. It does have a nice, a little bit of a playful greenness, and I think it is a really, really nice fragrance. If you did like He-Man Rocky Mountain, it is one to check out. Of course, being a Mancera, the performance is absolutely nuclear. So it is a really nice fragrance, and I do enjoy it for that really breezy violet. And I think actually, He-Man Rocky Mountain was probably one of the first fragrances that, at least for me, made me feel like there were floral heavy fragrances that I really, really enjoyed. So I do actually, or have come to really enjoy that sort of breezy vibe that violet can add to a fragrance, and that was the number 10. Number 9 spot, none other than Encre Noire Sport. It is my favorite of the line. It is the one I would suggest anyone trying if that's a line that you want to get into, especially if you're not that well versed with vetiver. Just because it is this really interesting, dark, kind of inky fragrance, and it performs for me better than the A l'Extrême. Does have this sort of marshy, almost marine kind of feel to it that does have a nice soapy dry down, deeper into the dry down. Like I said, it does have that sort of dark feel that Encre Noire is known for. It does have a nice showcase of vetiver. Does have it's just, I think it's a little bit more wearable than the other ones and a little bit more likable for people around you. It's very nice for summer, and it is a little bit different, so if that's what you're looking for, something different, especially a vetiver fragrance, it's a really nice one to try it, and you can get it for like $25, something like that online, so the price can't be beat. Now the next one is a little bit perhaps unusual for summer wear, but I do find that it is a little bit fresh, and that is Musk Oud by Kilian. Now, this is one of these fragrances that, for me, ultimately the best situation would be a very high-class formal occasion. You're wearing a suit and tie, black suit kind of thing. Absolutely, this is so perfectly well suited because it has that feel of luxury, class, elegance. But if it were the case that I only wore it for those occasions, I wouldn't wear it that often. And it is one that I've definitely wanted to try and reach for a little bit more. And when it wasn't too crazy hot out, I would sometimes reach for this fragrance. Nice, boozy, very boozy in the opening actually. Boozy rose is essentially how this one to me opens up, with a little tinge of that muskiness. The rose does tone down, but for me it is definitely one of the centerpieces of this fragrance, and it is probably one of the only fragrances with a very sharp, very dominant rose note that I actually really, really enjoy. And this one has been one that I've come to enjoy a lot. That booziness, that nice musky vibe really gives it a nice, classy dimension too. It's a very clean musk. Doesn't come across challenging at all within that realm of musk, so it's not very animalic. It's much more of a clean vibe. And that's one thing that I think does make it something you can wear in the summer, is it has a very clean, boozy feel to it, with a little bit of that rose. As I say every time, I know it's called Musk Oud, but Oud, zero. I don't get any real woodiness from this, maybe a little bit in the dry down, but beautiful. If you like musk, if you like rose, if you like booze, one to check out for sure. Now, one that perhaps you are not too much of a stranger 2, if you know my channel, and that is Parfums de Marly Galloway. Love this pearly white that it has going on. Very nice, clean looking bottle for a very clean looking smell. This is a citrus, peppery, clean musky fragrance. So again, it performs really, really well, and that's one thing that's nice. It does have a really nice bergamot in the opening that does last quite a long time. The bergamot, probably 2-3 hours, which is pretty good for a top note. And the fragrance itself does last, it does push into that 8-hour mark. It's one that I've often recommended for the office just because it is a fresh, clean fragrance and it's fairly inoffensive. It does have a peppery vibe. Sometimes that peppery vibe, I feel like it might put people off it a little bit, especially if the peppery becomes a little too dominant. But it also has this really nice clean musk going for it too. And sometimes that clean musk, especially in the opening, does remind me a little bit of fresh water, which is a really sort of unique feel because it doesn't have that sort of salty oceanic feel. It has more like a clean river stream kind of a feel. It is a nice one. It's one I don't have to go too heavy for. I do spray it maybe, 3 or 4 sprays usually with this one. But it does perform as a Parfums de Marly is expected to perform. So I don't have to go too crazy on this one. And like I said, I think I put a little bit of dent in it. But like I said, nice, clean, pearly kind of bottle. Looks really nice. Now, the next one, I think that puts me in on number 7? No, number 6. Yeah, number 6 spot. One that I've tried to wear a little bit more. Kind of want to finish the bottle off, not just because I don't like it, partially because I do like it, but it's one that I've had for a long time and it gets a little lost in the mix sometimes as Bleu de Chanel Parfum. I mean, really, this does not have to be a summer fragrance. You can wear this most any time of the year. And it is a little bit darker, so really spring, fall, really, really nice for that. I could even see wearing this in winter because it does have a good strength and longevity. Not a performance beast in the sense it's a heavy projector, but it is one that definitely sticks around. Now, of course, you know the Bleu de Chanel DNA. Probably it has that sort of blue shower jelly kind of vibe, but this has a little bit of a smoky incense feel, a little bit darker and woodsier. And I know this one doesn't have grapefruit, I don't believe in it, but I do get something in the top that gives me a little bit of a grapefruit vibe nonetheless, still with this one. And just this very nice, clean, enjoyable fragrance. And this is one that I find a lot of people really enjoy. So if you want a mass appealing fragrance, of course, Bleu de Chanel is a good one. I've found that also women really do seem to like this one. Just ultimately a very, very enjoyable, very easy to wear fragrance all around. Next one. I didn't wear this one as much as I might have planned. Partially because I got something else that I really love, but I do still love this one. I think it's a little bit underrated from the line, and that is, of course, Terre Hermes Eau Très Fraîche. My favorite one. And it's kind of been a bit of a gateway into the rest of the line because I have started to definitely warm up to the other Terre Hermes, which I gotta be honest with you, smelling them in the various airports and shops that I've smelled them in. Never was a huge fan of it, but this one, pretty much right away, there's something about that really nice tart bitter orange vibe that it has. Does have a slightly aquatic feel in the opening as well. Still has that nice tartness. There's none of that pepperiness, but it does have the orange front and center with a little bit of a woody background. And that is really nice. I think it is something that's easy to wear, that's different. And I do think a lot of people do tend to enjoy this one, even though it's different. I do find that this one actually opens up with a very clean orange, which is kind of weird, that it transitions into something more of a tart, somewhat dirty orange. And I think that's partially because of the aquatic notes. It gives it sort of this juicy orange feel. And that transitions into a nice, bit of a woodsy feel too. So one worth checking out, even if you're not a huge fan of the Terre Hermes line. I still think this one is an underrated gem. I know there is certainly more than a few people in Frag Column that absolutely love this fragrance, and I'm with the people on that one. This is a great one. This used to be my designated airplane scent. I would always wear this one. Not too heavy, of course, because you are trapped in a box. You don't want to be choking people out, but it is one that's different, but interesting. So I do like this one a lot. Terre Hermes Eau Très Fraîche. Top 4 fragrances. Almost skipped one. I was about to skip one. Acqua de Joe Profumo. Another one that doesn't have to be a summer fragrance at all. This one is, I mean, a lot of people talk about this way. It is really kind of a year-round fragrance. I think Profundo, if you got that one, is a much better summer fragrance. And, you know, I just probably personally wouldn't own more than one Acqua di Gio, but I do really enjoy Profundo as well. And it did have okay performance. The performance of this one is a lot better. It does last longer, but this has that salty sea breeze kind of a vibe. I do get a very, very salty seawater kind of a feel with that one, or with this one, I should say, which is really, really nice. And I don't know exactly what's giving it that saltiness, because I don't think salt is a listed note on this one at all, and yet it does still have this really nice salty feel to it. And of course, it has a little bit of incense and patchouli, which gives it, I guess, a little bit more of that masculine feel, which does make it one you can wear in more professional settings if you want. A lot of people have talked about this as an office fragrance. And I think for a nice, clean office fragrance, this is a really, really nice one. I managed to score this for a really, really good price from Dan Spanos, if you do know it, because he hated this one. So, of course, some people do hate it nonetheless. So would recommend, of course, as always, checking the fragrance out. If you want something that's a little bit fresher, a little bit more playful, then definitely try out Profundo. I find that it doesn't have the saltiness that this one has for me. This one, like I said, very nice, salty sea breeze. Top 3. One that I talk about almost every single year because I do love it. It's a personal favorite, and that's Aquatica by Jean Parfums. I am nearing halfway through this bottle. And you know, considering I didn't go out that much this summer, and considering I have a lot of fragrances, getting halfway through, and this is a 30 ml by the way, is a pretty good step in the right direction. You know, this is basically a clone of Arolfa, and to me it still has a little bit of that salty ambergris feel. I mean, for the price point, I would assume that real ambergris is not in this. I can't actually say what the ingredients actually are. But for me, this is actually very, very close to Arolfa. I get a little bit of that saltiness. It still has that nice sort of marine feel. And I think, for me, even still, Arolfa is pretty much the best marine fragrance around. It just has everything so nicely put together, so elegantly constructed. And I do have to give my props to Creed for that. However, at least for me, and maybe this is probably because it's newer batches or whatever the case may be, I get horrible, horrible performance with that one. A couple hours, maybe. Now this one solves all those problems. I find that it's a little bit louder, so it does have better projection. And the longevity is definitely there, 6 to 8 hours, which is more than I would really expect for a marine fragrance, but absolutely the performance is there. So, I mean, if you find that, you know, the performance of Arolfa is not that great, but you like the fragrance, I would recommend checking out Jean Parfums and Aquatica. They do have a lot of other good inspirations and some great originals, but man, love my Aquatica. This is one I definitely might even consider ordering again when I do finish, which will probably not be next year, but you never know. Maybe the year after that, I'll get to it. And now, number 2, of course, no surprise to anybody, Sedley, Parfums de Marly. I talk about this one a lot. Because I love this one. You know, that minty, fresh, citrusy, fizzy opening is just so lively, so uplifting. And I gotta be honest, that's one thing I love about citrus fragrances. That's one thing that's nice about citrus fragrances that I find, you know, the heavier scents are great. I love them overall more, but you know, and some of them do really feel amazing when I smell them, but not in the same kind of uplifting way that I find a lot of citrus fresh fragrances do. They just tend to hit a little bit different. And this one, absolutely one of my favorite from the house, maybe even my favorite right now, but it's definitely my favorite fresh fragrance. It does dry down into a little bit of a nice woodsy feel, and it is a really beast mode performer. As I have to warn every time, if you do buy it used, make sure you're getting 2020. If you get it brand new in box, it's almost certainly 2020 or beyond. Performance issues on 2019 were atrocious. They went back, they brought back something that still smells just as good and performs like an absolute beast mode fragrance. Like 8+ hours really. and this is pushing off my skin quite heavily for 3+ hours. So performance and projection is absolutely there. And that fresh, fizzy vibe lasts for a long, long time, 3+ hours as well. So really, really nice. Love that one. If you haven't checked that one out, I would definitely recommend it. Now, if you have been tuning into the channel, you probably know what the number one is because I talked about it a lot. And I also just bought it recently, and that is Allure Homme Sport Cologne. Now, it's a simple fragrance. Honestly, it is a simple fragrance. To me, this is orange, lemon, and neroli. And, you know, it does have sort of fresh, sort of semi-aquatic feel to it, but it's nothing fancy, but it does have that invigorating citrus vibe that I love so much. That orange and lemon work so well together. It's just, you know what I mean? Like when you smell one of those citrus fragrances and it just puts a smile on your face. That is what this one does for me. Performance also pretty good in that 6 to 8 hour range. I do tend to spray a couple more sprays on this one, but it is a fresh fragrance, so, you know, honestly, why not? And, you know, I've probably put in maybe, I want to say about 5 mil. 5 mil in the first summer that I had it. That's pretty good. I wore this definitely more than anything else. Fantastic fragrance. If you like those types of fresh fragrances, do check it out. You can probably find it at any boutique and get your nose on it without having to pay for it. Decide if you like it as well. But for a freshie, I think this is one that goes untalked about, underrated. Best from the line. Allure Homme Sport being my second favorite, but the Cologne being my absolute favorite. Anyways, guys, that is the list. Summer comes to a close. I might wear some of those, especially Musk Oud might get some fall, winter wearing. Might wear some of those anyways. And the weather's not freezing yet, so they're not totally shut off yet, or perhaps even ever. But definitely moving on to thicker, denser, richer fragrances, and I am excited about that, but also excited about those ones too. So anyways, guys, do leave a comment down below. What were some of the fragrances you loved wearing this summer? What are some of your favorite summer fragrances? Let me know. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.